we're going to show others what God looks like, how God is. We can't even get along with each other. And so as these problems start happening, and instead of Judah getting with Israel, instead of Israel listening to their brother Judah and all, man, he ain't got time to talk to you, because Israel was left with a bigger plot of land. It was more prosperous. They had access to all these trade routes, so they felt that they was the better of the brothers and all. And so we don't need to listen to Judah over there. It was a stepchild and all, and all these things are going on, and it led to so many different problems. And so when you see the downfall of what was going on, because I'm going to think about this too. When you have two folks coming out, and one's got a little more money and popularity and all, and the other, they have access to more. And when you have access to more stuff, you have the opportunity to fall into more problems, don't you? When we think about that as parents, that we want to give our kids what we didn't have. And we talk about, not being able to have, more than one TV in the house. Sometimes we had to share rooms with our siblings and all. We had to pass clothes down, and, technology stuff we didn't exist, or, we got a phone, we got one later on in life. We all know that, that problem, right? But it's one of those things that you say, but I want to give my kids more. And when you give them more and their eyes are open, we don't realize that sometimes when you give people access to more, you also give them access to more problems. And that's the problem that Israel had. They had access to too many problems. And those too many problems become too enticing to them. And that commitment that they were supposed to have to God wasn't there no more, because, but I got this over here that I didn't used to have. I got to go get a taste of it and try to go see what that looks like. And before too long, after you see what it looks like, and I gotta smell it, because you take it in with your eyes and then you smell it, and I gotta go touch it too, and I gotta taste it. And before too long, I'm fully engaged in it. And old Judah over here didn't have that, because he didn't have all the nice things they had in Israel and all. And so they tended to be the brother that said, hey, I'm the family over here. We don't live in a big city. We don't have access to all these things. And so they tended to be more traditional and all. You see that there might be a problem between the two brothers, and one is a city folk over here that's got access to everything, kind of like Dallas and all, and you got the smaller rural village over here that, well, we ain't got to worry about some of the problems they have, because we stick to each other. We try to take care of rural society, rural conditions. They fell into too. Yeah. And eventually they fell into the same problem. They lasted a little bit longer. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because they didn't have that opportunity, but they did eventually fall into the same problem. As Hosea is getting ready to speak his word, God is using these prophets as a mouthpiece to warn the people of problems that's going on. And so here's the angle that they use with Hosea is the people have prostituted themselves. Fix it. We all know, and we will use Texarkana as an example, of one might talk about certain parts of town, downtown, 7th Street, certain motels, and we recognize what the analogies we're talking about when we say people walking down 7th Street to a certain motel, and what that person might represent. And so we that's a carnal sin. And so we started looking at these things, and folks like to rate their sins, didn't they? Well, I didn't do that particular thing, so it's not be as bad as them. I get in because I ain't there. I ain't killed nobody. I'm not a prostitute. I didn't do these things, so I'm better off than this person here. But when we do anything that goes against the will of God, and we start serving that instead of serving God, are we prostituting ourselves? Because I had an opportunity, when situation happened, and I got sent into Babylon or Assyria over here, and I'm held captive. And I said, man, well, uh, Man, they told me if I go worship at their gods or whatever, that they'll give me more food or oh, and that food is better too. It ain't even the same food I'm supposed to eat, but it sure do taste good, and they give me more privileges if I just be accepting of some stuff like that, you know. When it's wrong. Yeah, when the wrongdoers are Romans, huh? Yeah. Mm. Y'all see, we had a lot of problems that were being encountered, and God wanted them to understand that you've been told by Jeremiah this particular way, you've been told by Daniel this particular way, and we still have pockets of people that don't get it. And so let me bring it to you in a different light, because we brought it to you in the agricultural sense. Let's bring it to you in this particular way because we realize that people are when they hear that word prostitute, man, that ain't me. That ain't me. But imagine telling one of God's spokespeople, the prophet here, hey, I want you to go and marry this prostitute. Now we don't know her whole story, and depending on what you read, I read a lot of stuff that suggested that was she really a prostitute? Was she prostituting herself after they got married? That's not necessarily the point. But the point is she could have just been another thing. Yes, and so as well as it could have been that she had relations before marriage. There's a lot of different things that go in there as to why she was called prostitute. We know she supposedly wasn't pure. And she wasn't pure before she got married to him? Was she not pure as they continued through their relationship? Some suggest that two of the three kids she had were his. So there's a lot of things there. What we do know is what he wanted to get the people to understand is they recognized that she wasn't pure. And according to their vocabulary and terminology, then that means she's a prostitute. So, it's like in 2025, how you say, if a man, you say, hey man, go for it, go sow your royal oats and all, and oh, okay, you slept with a girl too? Give me some of that, give me half five, you good. Young lady had that problem, what is she? Yeah. So we have a society that, I could have had one other, other than the guy I'm with, and now I'm supposedly cast into the same group as a prostitute over there. So we don't necessarily know that about Gomer as to what all she had done. We know she was at least with someone maybe prior to him. But what I wanted them to understand is that they were doing the same thing. You can't be with two. If you've got a spouse, you're just with that one. If I've got a commitment to, Terry said these are commitments to be, then that's what his commitment's supposed to be, not supposed to be anywhere else. But Wilbur said he's got a commitment to his wife, and that means his commitment is to only. He can't have someone else. But these people believe that they can have God and can also serve other gods. And they can also serve the other things that these other gods were suggesting. Well, it's okay that you do this thing right here. I know that your God you serve says you got to limit yourself, but man, if you serve me, I'll allow you these things. So people start saying, okay, it's all right because I don't just serve one God. So if it's Sunday and I'm serving and I'm going to the church here, then I realize I got to follow these things. But see, on Monday, this is the God we go worship Him on Monday, and I things I can do now on Monday, right? On Sunday, I'm limited. The rest of the week, I'm serving some other God, right? So many men going to Mormon. Yeah. That's why they go into Mormonism, because they can't take just one, huh? I gotta go to Utah. Shoot. Now think about it. We can't just be committed to God on Sunday and say, I'm gonna follow the precepts on Sunday and the rest of the week. I'm free to do whatever. That's what God wanted them to understand. You think it's sunk in with any of it? So he says here, the word of the Lord that came into Hosea, the son of Beeri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah. So they enumerated all these kings. So we kind of know, once again, we talked about it wasn't about a time period, but you look at kings or events that happened, and so we kind of know the time frame of when he was there. In the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, the king of Israel. The beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea, And the Lord said, go take unto thee a wife of whores and children of whores, for the land committeth great whoredom, departing from the Lord. So not only am I going to take this woman, but I'm supposed to go have kids with her. And she ain't pure. Now we realize that, and it probably was true, they just didn't bring that up. You know, there were STIs rampant at that time period too. But that wasn't something that they suggest in history. When we start talking about all this stuff, and we talk about folks having 1,000 women, what were they spreading around? Thousands of diseases, whatever, every one of them. But I'm supposed to go get with this woman, and I'm supposed to go have kids with her as well. And it's supposed to represent to the community what they're doing. Why I gotta do that? You see, Jose, I asked him that. I said, why I gotta go get with a prostitute? Yeah. Why I gotta go have with kids with her? Don't you think his kinfolk was supposed to talk? Yeah. You supposed to be the mouthpiece of God, and you over here with this woman. Yeah. And you done had kids, aren't you? Well, I think she gonna change. Yeah. If I marry her, she gonna act right. You ain't seen nobody do that, Harold. Unfortunately, in our we see that all too often, especially from some of our young ladies. That they have these young men who they come and let lay with them, and they think they gonna change them. He gonna change. He gonna change. He says the land committed a great whore, departing from the Lord. So what we want to understand is when you turn your back on God, it's just as despicable as this. And I realize people feel like I didn't turn my back. I just turned to the side because I saw something else out of my periphery. Because that's what it is, right? It's like about when those horses are in a horse race. They'll ever notice they have those things right put on the horse's face and all because they want the horse to look straight forward. And they don't look at the horses beside. Sometimes in life we need to do that. You think of some analogies of movies too. I want y'all to think of the yellow brick road. Why is it they said follow the yellow brick road? And at some part, remember Dorothy got off the yellow brick road because they said, but I can see the palace over there. We come through the field. It's quicker, right? Do we sometimes in life do that and say, well, I need to take the blinders off the side because I think I see something out of my peripheral out of there. And it looks a little bit easier or a little nicer and all, and maybe I can go that way. And when we do that, we open ourselves up to other stuff we ain't supposed to be involved in, which is exactly what the people were doing. He said, he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, and conceived and bare him a son. And the Lord said, call his name Jezreel, for yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of him upon the house of Jehu. It will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Israel. Why I spend so much time on that? Brother, I'm gonna let you talk about why Jehu was important. I was thinking about something else when you were saying that. But yeah. It was in another word. Oh, you good. We had some stuff going on within Jehu was a good king. Yes. I remember that portion of it because he took care of Jezebel and a few other folks, and boy, he didn't play. He was a righteous king. He did what was right in the sight of God. Yeah, so they've got a lot of problems, as Brother Wilbur brought up earlier, that Judah wasn't doing everything that was right either. And so between the two, between Israel and Judah, they had a lot of problems after Solomon had passed on. And you had a righteous king followed by others that did wrong in the sight of God. And now you're trying to go back and repay some of them for the things that they did, and you end up in a predicament because that wasn't your predicament. You're supposed to be doing that. It's not your job. Because the guy you replaced wasn't right doesn't mean I gotta go kill his family and so you put yourself in a bad position. God didn't tell you to do that. Sometimes you're supposed to get rid of the things that were there. They go in and they put things in place that's not right. And so I got to go back and set things right in the right place. But you know, in the process of doing that, sometimes they say, man, I got to go put him and his family to death too, because they had no business doing that. Yeah. We're not an executioner. God gave you a job to do. Now, there were times when God told them to do that, and then they didn't do it. Because when they went into the promised land, they were told to do, don't hold any of that stuff, man. Get rid of all of it. But yet they wanted to spare stuff. But then when God tells you, hey, don't touch them, just go fix this, he'll say, oh, I gotta give you some extra stuff. They start causing problems. So there were some brutal killings that went on in the house of Jehu. And they're paying a price for that, is what they're explaining to us in this chapter, in this verse. It says, it shall come to pass at that day, and I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. So this is the valley where they went and killed them at. And so now this valley is known for the deaths, the slaying of this king and his former king and his kids, and it's got a negative connotation to it. And he says, so I'm gonna fix some stuff, and it's gonna be in this same valley here. These bones live. Yeah. And so that name had a significant meaning for that very reason. It says, she conceived again. Oh, excuse me. He says that I will break the bow of Israel. So in other words, they're going to have a military defeat. That's what I was supposed to bring in. So we talked about how there was a difference between Israel and Judah. Well, Israel's size and might, they were known for being a military country as well. You know, they didn't turn to God when they needed help from stuff. You know, they would say, "Man, we got money, we got power, we got people. We're gonna find our way out of it." But they so small. Sometimes we too get so big about ourselves, whether it be physically or financially, and we decide, well, I don't need God to fight my fights for me anymore. I got the means to do it myself. See, and overload us. Yeah. And that's where Israel's problem was, because they had not in the same position that their forefathers were. They got a little more money, a little more clout. I can go take care of my own problem. I don't need to refer to God. And so when God defeated them, he said, well, I'm going to use what you think is your strength to be your problem. Now think about that. Sometimes we think what our strength is. It turns its back on us, right? That becomes our greatest problem. We need to realize our greatest strength is God. That teaches you that lesson when you think, well, I can't. I'm an aerial assault team with this football going on today. I'm going to use that as an analogy. We throw the ball real well. They can't beat me if we throw that football. And their team loads up against you and says, hey, we're going to leave the middle of the thing open. We're going to cover the receivers. And then we lose and say, man, how'd y'all lose? How'd y'all not see y'all had all this opening right here to run through the ball, man? Our strength was throwing the ball. We thought we could do. We wanted Dak to get back there and throw 70 passes a game. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, throw that in there. I hear some birds. Yep. You need to crawl up in the crawl space. They up in there. And there's got a nest up in there. That's great. But it says she conceived again and bare a daughter, and God said unto him, call her name Laruma, and I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. No more have mercy upon them. He has some mercy, but he said, it's run out. That's tough for that kid to be there. That is tough. Children. Well, yeah. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah. Wait a minute. So we're not going to have mercy on me, but you're going to take mercy on me. Once again, we realize that's why I went back and kind of shared some of that history. Is these two brothers and all, and actually there were 12 of them, but we realized two of the tribe, Judah and Benjamin, they represented, they called them Judah. But so we're going to pay the price. But what about Judah over there? Judah was going to get there. But at this point in time, God is taking care of Israel. So I'm going to have mercy on the house of Judah, will save them by the Lord their God, will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horses. So in other words, these things were what the strength was of Israel. And so that's what they're trying to say. But wait a minute, if we're stronger and you're defeating us through our strength, and they're smaller and they got less weaponry and less horsemen and less infantry and all that, how they gonna defeat these folks? Because God said it ain't about using those things. Not by power. Not by power. It's by God. But it's written on God. Exactly. We got to recognize that it's not about what we got, but about what God has. You think they were sitting there thinking, oh, they ain't going to use none of that stuff. They still going to defeat them. It's hard for us to stand still and let God work. Now when she had weaned her and conceived and bare a son. So we've already had child number one, child number two, and they suggest weaning a kid takes about 3 years. And so in other words, 3 years have passed since he's had the daughter. And now she's born a third child. And God said, call his name. And I didn't even go look at the pronunciation of that name. Loami, Loami, Loami. For you are not my people. Well, that's tough right there. You are not my people. God's not claiming. You're acting so bad. Sometimes people do things and they think that, well, if I hide, they won't know. Or his mercy is he's so merciful, he'll allow me to do this and we'll still be good. But at some point, God's gotta be God. And that's what we love about God, because God's a just God when he's just with someone else. Right? That person did it. And I like it that God was just with them, but they got what they deserved. Oh, he told him, yeah, burn his hand up. Ain't that what you used to do when your sister used to get a whooping? He's like, around the corner, you'd be looking and all. Or mama got him. I was telling him. Until it's your turn. He says, you're not my people, and I will not be your God. Now, does that mean we're supposed to give up on God? No. God never changes. He hasn't changed his covenant. But he also wants them to understand a message. Yeah. Because if I don't have Big Brother right there, and I realize, because that's what God's going to take care of me. But when God said, you ain't my people, it didn't mean he just totally X'd them out. But instead, they were going to have to do some stuff to regain what God had gained, regain favor in God's sight, what that means. They lost favor with God. Favor with God. That's bad. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. So, in other words, you see that although they lost favor, and for a temporary amount of time, they fixing to get slaughtered, and the rest of them is fixing to go into captivity. What he's telling them is their numbers are at some point are going to explode again. Think about when you've been to a beach and you see all the sand and you can't count it all. That's what he's talking about. Eventually, their numbers are going to repopulate, just like the sand. cannot be measured or numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people. So in this same place of Jezreel, where this situation happened with Jehu, that we said is cursed right now, because these folks were killed. I'm gonna use this same valley right here, and I'm gonna bring my people back and bring them back into the fold of the covenant. So we can take something that was meant for evil, or that we did for evil, shall we say, and then we can be turned around. God, we think of certain parts of town and we say, man, there ain't nothing good come out of Griff King. I'm gonna use Griff King and build the city right back to farm where it's at. Something good did come out of there. Yeah. Hey, it was some good came through this. That's what came through Griff King looking. He says, you are not my people, and there shall be said unto them, you are the sons of the living God. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together. So we talked about the history from Solomon and Jeroboam, and there was a split between them for some 400 years. And they were bitter enemies, although they were brothers. But then after all this stuff happened with captivity, God said, hey, what? Bring you back. And when you come back, there ain't gonna be no split anymore. You're gonna be brought back as one family. We're gonna forget about the past. Try to, but we know how things happen. We've been to the counselor and therapist, and we done got fixed 4 times. And he says, appoint themselves one head, not 2 kings anymore. One head, God. And they shall come upon out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. So that name had a negative connotation, but guess what? I'm going to turn it around. No more will Dwight's name be signified with evil. Yeah. It's fun to be able to pick a Dwight. He's a good sport. Yeah. Yeah. I'll get Leroy next week. Commitment, people. Let's stay committed to God. And if we can do that and not put our commitment in everything else on earth, we too can claim God, and God will claim us. Amen. Anybody have any comments or questions? Nah, I just heard the birds. Praise